Nothing says family togetherness quite like the smell of burnt turkey and simmering resentment. I'm Tom Rourke, and if you think managing an auto shop is tough, try managing a Thanksgiving dinner where your wife treats you like yesterday's oil change. Tom, can you actually help instead of standing there like a scarecrow? Lisa's voice cut through the kitchen chaos with surgical precision. My wife of 22 years stood at the counter, her perfectly styled blonde hair somehow immune to the steam rising from various pots. She wore that fake smile she'd perfected for company, the one that never quite reached her eyes. Sure thing, honey. I grabbed the cranberry sauce from the counter, noting how she flinched when I got too close. Funny how someone can live in the same house as you and still act like you're contaminated. Our daughter Maddie bounced into the kitchen, her dark hair, my hair, pulled back in a messy bun. At 19, she still had that college freshman energy, though something seemed off today. Her boyfriend Tyler followed behind her like a golden retriever, all perfect teeth and practiced charm. "Dad, Tyler brought wine for dinner," Maddie announced, wrapping her arms around my waist. At least someone in this house still liked me. "That's thoughtful," I said, eyeing the expensive bottle. Tyler Groves came from money, the kind of family that summered in the Hamptons and considered my auto shop quaint. He was 21, drove a Mustang his daddy bought him, and had never worked a day in his pampered life. "Mr. Rourke, I hope you don't mind me crashing your family dinner," Tyler said, flashing that $1,000,000 smile. "Lisa insisted I stay." "Lisa, not Mrs. Rourke." I filed that away for later. "The more the merrier," I replied, watching as Lisa shot Tyler a look I couldn't quite decipher. There was something there, a shared secret maybe, or maybe I was just paranoid after months of feeling like a stranger in my own home. My sister Janice arrived with her usual fanfare, bursting through the front door with arms full of side dishes and gossip. At 45, she'd survived a messy divorce and came out swinging at life with the subtlety of a wrecking ball. "Where's my favorite brother-in-law?" she called out, though I was her only brother-in-law. "Kitchen, trying not to burn the house down," I called back. Janice appeared in the doorway, took one look at the scene, and I saw her eyebrows rise slightly. She had radar for tension, probably came from years of marriage to a cheating accountant. "Lisa, you look stressed," Janice observed, setting her dishes on the already crowded counter. "Just trying to make everything perfect," Lisa replied, her voice tight. "You know how it is." But I was watching Tyler, and I saw him suppress a smirk. The kid found something amusing about Lisa's stress. That was interesting. The doorbell rang, and Lisa's friends Heather and Trish arrived together, bringing their usual mix of wine and barely concealed cattiness. Heather was sharp-tongued and divorced, always looking for drama to distract from her own problems. Trish was the enabler, the one who stirred the pot, and then acted innocent when everything boiled over. "Tom, you're looking good," Heather said, giving me an appraising look that made Lisa's jaw tighten. "Working out?" "Just hauling engines around the shop," I said. "Keeps me in shape." "I bet it does," she replied, ignoring Lisa's glare. The evening progressed with the usual family dinner chaos. My best friend Pete showed up fashionably late, bringing his easy laugh and the kind of loyalty you only find in guys who've known you since high school. He co-owned the auto shop with me and had a talent for reading people that served us well in business. "How's everyone doing?" Pete asked, settling into his chair with a beer. "Just peachy," I muttered, noticing how Lisa kept checking her phone under the table. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. As we sat down to eat, I found myself studying the dynamics around the table. Maddie chattered about college, but I caught her glancing nervously between her mother and Tyler. Lisa played the perfect hostess, but her smiles seemed forced. Tyler was charming everyone except me. He barely acknowledged my existence. "So, Tyler," I said during a lull in conversation. "What are you studying again?" "Business administration," he replied smoothly, following in my father's footsteps. "That's nice, having a plan." I took a sip of wine. "Must be nice having everything laid out for you." Tyler's smile flickered slightly. "I believe in working for what I want, Mr. Rourke." "I'm sure you do." Lisa jumped in quickly. "Tyler's been so helpful with Maddie's business classes." "Haven't you, Tyler?" The way she said his name, soft, almost intimate, made my stomach clench. I glanced around the table and caught Janice watching the exchange with narrowed eyes. After dinner, while everyone migrated to the living room, I volunteered for dish duty. It gave me time to think and observe. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see Lisa and Tyler standing close together, heads bent in conversation. Too close for my comfort. "Need help?" Janice appeared beside me, dish towel in hand. "Sure." I handed her a plate to dry. "Notice anything weird tonight?" She was quiet for a moment, considering. "You mean, besides the fact that your wife keeps looking at your daughter's boyfriend like he's dessert?" So I wasn't imagining it. "Yeah, besides that." "Tom, I love you, but you can be pretty oblivious sometimes." She lowered her voice. "How long has this been going on?" "What exactly?" "The way they look at each other, the inside jokes, the way she lights up when he talks." Janice shook her head. "Honey, I think you need to pay closer attention to what's happening in your own house." Before I could respond, Maddie burst into the kitchen, her face flushed with excitement. "Dad, can we do the birthday cake now? I know it's weird having it on Thanksgiving, but since Tyler's here..." Right. Today wasn't just Thanksgiving, it was also Maddie's 19th birthday. We'd decided to combine celebrations this year, which seemed like a good idea at the time. "Of course, sweetheart. Let me get the candles." I retrieved the cake from the refrigerator, chocolate with vanilla frosting, Maddie's favorite since she was 5. As I stuck 19 candles into the frosting, I could hear laughter from the living room. Lisa's laugh, bright and musical, followed by Tyler's deeper chuckle. When had Lisa stopped laughing like that with me? We gathered in the living room for the cake ceremony. Maddie sat on the couch between Lisa and Tyler, looking happy despite whatever tension she'd been sensing earlier. I lit the candles and everyone sang, "Happy Birthday," though I noticed Tyler's voice harmonizing perfectly with Lisa's. "Make a wish, honey," I said, holding the cake steady. Maddie closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and blew out the candles. Everyone cheered, and in the chaos of congratulations and cake cutting, I stepped back to get a better view of the scene. That's when I saw it. While everyone else focused on Maddie and the cake, Lisa leaned over and whispered something in Tyler's ear. He grinned and whispered back. Then, thinking no one was watching, Lisa's hand brushed against Tyler's thigh, a brief touch, but unmistakably intimate. My hands tightened on the cake server. 22 years of marriage, and my wife was flirting with our daughter's boyfriend. In our living room, during our daughter's birthday celebration. I needed air, and I needed to think. "I'll just put this in the kitchen," I said, holding up the cake server. Nobody paid attention. They were all focused on Maddie opening her presents. I walked toward the kitchen, but instead of going straight there, I ducked into the hallway where I could observe without being seen. What I witnessed made my stomach turn. Lisa and Tyler had moved slightly away from the group, standing near the fireplace. While everyone else watched Maddie unwrap gifts, they were having their own private moment. Lisa touched Tyler's arm. He leaned down to say something, and she laughed that musical laugh again. Then Tyler glanced around, saw that no one was watching, and quickly kissed Lisa's cheek. Not a friendly peck, a lingering, intimate kiss that made Lisa close her eyes and smile. I stood there in the hallway, cake server in my hand, watching my wife of 22 years flirt with a boy barely older than our daughter. The boy our daughter was in love with. Well, that's one way to ruin a party, I thought grimly. I walked back to the kitchen, set down the cake server, and leaned against the counter. My mind was racing, but strangely, I felt calm. Maybe it was shock, or maybe it was relief at finally understanding why I'd felt like a stranger in my own home for months. Through the kitchen window, I could see our neighbor's house, all lit up and normal. Inside, a family was probably finishing their own Thanksgiving dinner, maybe watching football or playing board games. Normal family stuff. Not whatever twisted drama was playing out in my living room. I heard footsteps and turned to see Pete in the doorway. "You okay, man? You look like you've seen a ghost." Something like that. I glanced toward the living room, where I could hear Maddie exclaiming over another gift. "Pete, can I ask you something?" "Shoot. If you found out someone was betraying you, I mean really betraying you, what would you do?" Pete studied my face carefully. "Depends on the betrayal, and depends on what kind of man you want to be afterward." He paused. "This about Lisa?" I didn't answer directly. "How long have we known each other?" "Since high school, 25 years, give or take." "In all that time, have you ever known me to back down from a fight?" "Never. Even when you should have." Pete's expression grew serious. "Tom, what's going on?" Before I could answer, Maddie's voice rang out from the living room. "Dad, come see what Tyler got me!" I pushed off from the counter and walked back toward the living room, Pete following. Everyone was gathered around Maddie, who was holding up a delicate silver bracelet. "It's beautiful, honey," I said, forcing a smile. "Tyler picked it out himself," Lisa said, beaming at him. "He has such good taste." Tyler basked in the praise, his arm casually draped across the back of the couch behind Maddie, but his eyes were on Lisa. "Well," I said, looking around the room at all the faces, some innocent, some not so much. "This has certainly been a memorable Thanksgiving." And it was about to get a lot more memorable. The next morning, I woke up with the clarity that sometimes comes after a sleepless night of planning. Lisa was already up, probably getting ready for her morning run. A new habit she'd picked up 6 months ago, along with the designer workout clothes and the sudden interest in looking perfect. I lay in bed listening to her move around the bathroom, my mind cataloging all the changes I'd been too trusting to question. The new clothes, the secretive phone calls, the way she'd started working late more often, the way she'd stopped really seeing me, except as an obstacle to navigate around. But the biggest change was how she'd started treating Tyler like he was something special instead of just Maddie's college boyfriend. Now I knew why. I got up and made coffee, settling at the kitchen table with my laptop. If I was going to do this right, I needed information, and I needed proof. Lisa came downstairs in her running gear, looking like she'd stepped out of a fitness magazine. At 39, she was still beautiful. Maybe more so now that she was putting effort into it again. Too bad it wasn't for me. "Morning," she said, grabbing her water bottle from the counter. Her tone was neutral, polite, the way you'd talk to a roommate you barely knew. "Morning. Good run planned?" "Just the usual route." She paused at the door. "I might stop by the office afterward, catch up on some work." "On the day after Thanksgiving?" "You know how it is. HR never sleeps." She gave me that practiced smile. "I'll be back this afternoon." After she left, I opened my laptop and started doing what I should have done months ago, paying attention. I checked our cell phone records online, scrolled through our credit card statements, looked at patterns I'd been too busy or too trusting to notice before. The phone records were interesting. Lots of calls to a number I didn't recognize, usually during work hours. The credit card showed lunches at restaurants across town, purchases at stores Lisa claimed she'd never been to. But the real goldmine was her social media. Lisa had always been careful about her online presence. She worked in HR after all, and knew how these things could backfire. but people in the middle of affairs get sloppy. They start taking risks. I found photos she'd been tagged in by her friends, pictures from lunches and shopping trips where Tyler appeared in the background more often than coincidence could explain. Comments between Lisa and her friends that took on new meaning when viewed through the lens of betrayal. Heather had posted a picture from a restaurant last week with the caption, "Girls' Lunch." But if you looked carefully at the reflection in the window behind them, you could see Tyler sitting at the bar. My phone buzzed. A text from Maddie. "Thanks for yesterday, Dad. Tyler said he had a great time. He really likes you guys." Poor kid. She had no idea her boyfriend was playing house with her mother. I spent the morning building a timeline, cross-referencing phone records with credit card statements and social media posts. The pattern that emerged was damning. For the past 3 months, Lisa and Tyler had been meeting regularly. Always when Maddie was in class, always when I was at work. They'd been careful, but not careful enough. By the time Lisa returned that afternoon, I had a plan. "How was your run?" I asked as she came through the door, cheeks flushed and hair perfect, despite allegedly exercising. "Great. Really cleared my head." She grabbed a water bottle from the fridge. "What did you do this morning?" "Just puttered around, did some research on that slideshow I'm putting together." She paused, water bottle halfway to her lips. "Slideshow? For Christmas. I thought it would be nice to put together a family slideshow. You know, highlights from the past year. All our special moments." I smiled innocently. "I found some really interesting photos." Something flickered across her face. Concern, maybe, or guilt. "That sounds nice." "I thought so. I'm planning to show it at the Christmas party. You know how everyone loves those family slideshows." Lisa's smile looked strained. "Right. Well, I should shower." As she headed upstairs, I allowed myself a small smile. The seed was planted. Now I just had to tend it carefully until it grew into full-blown panic. Over the next few weeks, I became a student of surveillance. I installed a small camera in our living room, hidden in a bookshelf, completely legal since it was my own house. I started paying attention to Lisa's schedule, noting when she claimed to be one place, but her phone's location showed her somewhere else. And I started documenting everything. The camera caught several interesting moments. Tyler stopping by when Maddie wasn't there, staying just long enough for coffee and conversation that looked far too intimate for a mother and her daughter's boyfriend. Lisa touching his arm, laughing at his jokes, looking at him the way she used to look at me. But the real breakthrough came when I decided to follow her one afternoon. Lisa had claimed she was meeting Heather for lunch, but her phone showed her at a hotel across town. I parked where I could see the entrance and waited. Sure enough, Tyler's Mustang pulled into the parking lot 20 minutes later. I didn't need to see them together to know what was happening. The timeline, the location, the lies, it all added up to exactly what I'd suspected. But I waited anyway, camera ready, until they emerged 2 hours later. Lisa looked around nervously before getting in her car. Tyler was more casual, probably thinking he was untouchable. They were both wrong. That evening, Lisa was unusually affectionate, making my favorite dinner and asking about my day with what seemed like genuine interest. Guilt, I realized. She was trying to assuage her conscience by being a better wife for a few hours. "You seem happy," I observed over dinner. "Just a good day, I guess." She smiled, and for a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married. Sometimes I forget how nice it is when we just talk. If she was hoping for reconciliation, she was about to be disappointed. But I played along, letting her think her performance was working. "We should do this more often," I agreed. "Maybe plan something special for Christmas." "That would be nice." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I love you, Tom." The words hit me like a slap. Maybe she did love me, in whatever twisted way her mind had rationalized this situation. Maybe she thought she could have both, the security of marriage and the excitement of an affair with someone young enough to be her son. I love you too, I replied, and meant it. That was the hell of it. After everything, I still loved her. But love wasn't enough anymore. Christmas Eve arrived with fresh snow and the kind of forced cheer that comes with family obligations. We were hosting our annual party, a tradition that brought together family, friends, and neighbors for an evening of food, drinks, and catching up. Lisa had been planning the party for weeks, obsessing over every detail. She wanted everything perfect, probably because Tyler would be there. Maddie was bringing him as her date, of course, having no idea that her boyfriend had been warming her mother's bed for months. I'd spent weeks preparing too, but my preparations were different. The living room was decorated with garland and lights, the tree twinkling in the corner. Lisa had outdone herself with the food, appetizers, a ham, all the sides anyone could want. She looked beautiful in a red dress that was just a little too young for her, just a little too tight. Guests started arriving around 6. Janice came with a bottle of wine and her usual sharp observations. Pete brought his wife Sandra, who'd always liked Lisa and would probably be shocked by what was coming. Heather and Trish arrived together, already gossiping about someone's divorce. Tyler showed up with Maddie, looking like the perfect college boyfriend in his sweater and khakis. He brought flowers for Lisa, for the hostess, he said with that charming smile, and I watched my wife light up like she was 19 again. How thoughtful, Lisa gushed, taking the flowers. They're beautiful. Almost as beautiful as the hostess, Tyler replied smoothly. Maddie beamed, thinking the compliment was innocent. Lisa blushed like a schoolgirl. I excused myself to set up the slideshow equipment, connecting my laptop to the big screen TV. Several people asked what I was doing, and I explained about the family slideshow I'd prepared. Tom's been working on it for weeks, Lisa said, though she looked nervous. He won't tell me what's in it. It's a surprise, I confirmed. I think everyone will find it very interesting. As the evening progressed, I played the perfect host, making sure everyone had drinks, engaging in small talk, keeping an eye on Lisa and Tyler. They were being more careful tonight with so many people around, but I still caught meaningful glances, brief touches, the kind of intimacy that comes from sharing secrets. Around 9 o'clock, when everyone had eaten and the wine had been flowing freely, I called for attention. If I could have everyone gather in the living room, I announced, I'd like to share something special. People settled onto couches and chairs, drinks in hand, expecting a typical family slideshow full of vacation photos and birthday parties. Lisa sat on the couch between Maddie and Tyler, looking beautiful and nervous. I dimmed the lights and started the presentation. The first few slides were exactly what everyone expected. Family photos from the past year, pictures from Maddie's birthday, shots of Lisa and me at various events. People smiled and made appreciative comments. "You two look so happy," someone said during a photo of Lisa and me at a charity dinner. "We try to be," I replied, advancing to the next slide. But then the tone began to shift. The photos became more recent, more specific. Lisa at restaurants she'd claimed never to visit. Lisa shopping at stores she'd said she'd never been to. Lisa in places she was supposed to be somewhere else entirely. I watched her face as recognition dawned. The color drained from her cheeks, and she gripped her wine glass tighter. "Tom," she said quietly, "maybe we should—" "Oh, but we're just getting to the good part," I interrupted, clicking to the next slide. This one showed Lisa and Tyler walking into the hotel together, the timestamp clearly visible. There was no mistaking what they were doing or when they were doing it. The room went silent. I could hear the Christmas music playing softly in the background, cheerful and completely at odds with the tension that had suddenly filled the air. Maddie stared at the screen, her face cycling through confusion, understanding, and horror. What is this?" "This," I said calmly, "is what your mother has been doing while you're at school and I'm at work." Tyler had gone pale, his usual confidence evaporating. "Mr. Rourke, this isn't what it looks like." "Really?" Because it looks like you're having an affair with my wife. I clicked to the next slide, showing them leaving the hotel 2 hours later. But please enlighten us. What does it look like to you? Lisa stood up abruptly, her wine glass falling to the floor and shattering. Tom, stop this. Not here, not like this. Where then, Lisa? In private, where you can lie to me some more, where you can tell me I'm imagining things. I looked around the room at the shocked faces of our friends and family. I think our guests deserve to know what kind of woman they've been celebrating. Dad, please, Maddie whispered, tears streaming down her face. Please stop. But I was beyond stopping. Months of humiliation, of being treated like I was invisible in my own home, of watching my wife light up for another man. It all came pouring out. Did you know, I continued, addressing the room, that Lisa has been meeting Tyler at hotels for the past 3 months, while our daughter thinks she's in love with him, while I'm working to pay for the house where Lisa plans her affairs? Tyler finally found his voice. This is insane. You're destroying your family over what? Over my wife sleeping with my daughter's boyfriend? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I think my family was already destroyed. I'm just making sure everyone knows who destroyed it. Lisa was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Tom, please, we can work this out. We can fix this. Fix this? I stared at her. You want to fix this? Then explain to our daughter why her boyfriend has been in our bed. Explain to our friends why you've been lying to everyone for months. Explain to me why I wasn't enough. The room was frozen, everyone too shocked to move or speak. This wasn't the kind of family drama people expected at a Christmas party, but Lisa wasn't done fighting. You want to play this game, Tom? She said, wiping her eyes and straightening her shoulders. Fine, let's play. She pulled out her phone, fingers flying over the screen. Within seconds, my own phone buzzed with a notification. Check your messages, she said, her voice steady now. All of you. Check your messages. I looked down at my phone and felt my stomach drop. Lisa had sent a video to everyone in the room, a video I'd forgotten existed, from a company party 3 years ago when I'd had too much to drink and made some very poor decisions with a coworker. Tom's not as innocent as he pretends to be, Lisa announced to the room. That video shows him with Jennifer from accounting, at his company Christmas party, while I was home with the flu. The room erupted. People were looking at their phones, then at me, then at Lisa. Maddie was sobbing openly now, Tyler looking like he wanted to disappear, and our friends were witnessing the complete destruction of what they'd thought was a solid marriage. That was 3 years ago, I said. One mistake, one night I regretted immediately and confessed to you about. And this is now, Lisa shot back. At least I'm not destroying lives over it. Aren't you? I gestured toward Maddie, who was being comforted by Janice. Look at our daughter, Lisa. Look what your choices have done to her. But Lisa's counterattack had worked. The room was no longer entirely on my side. Some people were looking at me with the same disgust they'd shown her moments before. I think, Pete said quietly, standing up, Sandra and I should go. That broke the spell. People began gathering their coats and purses, making awkward excuses and avoiding eye contact. Within 20 minutes, our house was empty except for family. Maddie sat on the couch, tears still flowing, looking at both her parents like she didn't recognize us. Tyler hovered nearby, clearly wanting to leave, but not sure if he should abandon Maddie. I can't believe this, Maddie said finally. I can't believe both of you. She stood up and walked toward the stairs, then turned back. Tyler, we're done. Don't call me, don't text me, don't come near me. Her voice was steady despite the tears. And both of you, I'm going back to school early. I can't be in this house right now. After she left, the three of us stood in the destroyed remains of our Christmas party. Broken glass from Lisa's wine glass sparkled on the floor, the slideshow still frozen on the screen showing Lisa and Tyler's betrayal. Well, I said finally, I guess we know where we stand. Lisa looked at me with something that might have been respect mixed with hatred. Game on, Tom. Tyler, who had been silent through most of the confrontation, finally spoke up. This is insane. You're both insane. We both turned to look at him, this kid who'd helped destroy a 22-year marriage and was now calling us crazy for being upset about it. You haven't seen insane yet, I told him quietly, but you will. The week between Christmas and New Year's has always been strange, a liminal time when normal rules don't quite apply. This year, it felt like living in a war zone during a ceasefire. Lisa and I moved around the house like polite strangers, each waiting for the other to make the next move. Maddie had gone back to school early, as promised. The house felt empty without her laughter, without her presence as a buffer between Lisa and me. She'd left without saying goodbye to either of us, and that hurt more than I wanted to admit. I spent the quiet days planning my next move. The slideshow had been satisfying but ultimately a draw. Lisa's counterattack with my old indiscretion had muddied the waters. If I wanted to win this war, I needed to be smarter. That's when I remembered Ray Kowalski. Ray and I had gone to high school together, played football on the same team, dated some of the same girls. After graduation, I'd gone to community college and then into auto repair. Ray had joined the Army, done 2 tours overseas, and come back with skills that translated well into private investigation work. I found his number in my old contacts and called him on a Tuesday morning while Lisa was at work. Tom Rourke. Ray's voice was gravelly, like he'd been smoking too many cigarettes and drinking too much coffee. Haven't heard from you in years. How's married life treating you? That's actually why I'm calling. Ray listened without interruption as I explained the situation. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. You want me to dig up dirt on your wife and this kid? I want you to find the truth. All of it. Truth's expensive, Tom, and it's usually uglier than people expect. How expensive? He quoted a price that made me wince, but I agreed. If I was going to do this, I needed to do it right. Ray got to work immediately. Within 3 days, he had information that made my amateur detective work look like child's play. We met at a diner across town, the kind of place where the coffee was strong and the conversations were private. Ray slid a manila envelope across the table. Your wife's been busy, he said without preamble. This thing with the college boy isn't her first rodeo. I opened the envelope and felt my world shift again. Photos, phone records, credit card statements, evidence of not just one affair, but multiple relationships over the past 2 years. There was a guy from her gym last year, Ray explained. Personal trainer, 26 years old. That lasted about 4 months. Before that, someone from her office, a consultant they brought in for some project. I stared at the photos, seeing Lisa with men I'd never heard of, in places I'd never known she'd been. How many? That I can prove? 4, including the college boy. But Tom? Ray leaned forward. There might be more. Your wife's got this down to a science. She's careful, methodical. This isn't someone who made a mistake. This is someone who's been living a double life. The betrayal I'd discovered with Tyler suddenly seemed like just the tip of the iceberg. Lisa hadn't just strayed once. She'd been systematically cheating on me for years. There's more, Ray continued. The college boy's got secrets too. His trust fund? Not as secure as he pretends. He's been borrowing money from several older women, including your wife, and he's got a gambling problem his parents don't know about. I looked through more photos. Tyler at a casino. Tyler meeting with what looked like loan sharks. Tyler accepting an envelope of cash from Lisa outside a bank. So he's not just sleeping with my wife, I said slowly. He's taking her money too. Looks that way, and there's something else. Ray pulled out another set of photos. The kid's got another girlfriend, college student, about your daughter's age. He's been juggling 3 women, your daughter, your wife, and this other girl. The scope of the deception was staggering. Tyler wasn't just a cheating boyfriend. He was running multiple cons, using women for money and housing and whatever else he needed. "What do you want to do with this?" Ray asked. I thought about Maddie, probably crying in her dorm room, thinking she'd lost the love of her life. I thought about Lisa, so proud of her young lover, not knowing she was just another mark in his long con. "I want to destroy them both," I said finally. "But I want to do it right." Ray grinned. "Now you're talking my language." The plan we developed was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of confronting Lisa and Tyler directly, we would let their secrets destroy them from within. First, Ray sent anonymous packages to Tyler's parents. The photos of their golden boy gambling, borrowing money, and sleeping with multiple women arrived at their Connecticut estate on a Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, Tyler's credit cards had been canceled and his trust fund frozen. Next, we targeted Lisa's workplace. Ray had discovered that Lisa had been using company resources to facilitate her affairs, booking hotel rooms through the corporate account, using company phones for personal calls, even claiming some of her affair-related expenses as business costs. An anonymous tip to Lisa's boss, backed up with documentation, triggered an internal investigation. By Friday, Lisa was suspended pending a full audit of her activities. But the real masterstroke was what we did with Tyler's other girlfriend. Her name was Jessica Chen, and she was a sophomore at the same college Maddie attended. According to Ray's research, she'd been dating Tyler for 6 months and had no idea about Maddie or Lisa. She thought she was Tyler's only girlfriend. Ray arranged for Jessica to receive a package containing photos of Tyler with both Maddie and Lisa, along with documentation of his financial schemes. The package arrived on Saturday morning. By Saturday afternoon, Jessica had posted everything on social media. I was working in the garage when my phone started buzzing with notifications. Pete had tagged me in a Facebook post along with a message. "Dude, you need to see this." Jessica's post was brutal in its honesty. She'd laid out everything: Tyler's lies, his manipulation, his affairs with both a mother and daughter. She'd included photos, screenshots of text messages, even financial records showing how he'd borrowed money from multiple women. The post was being shared rapidly, spreading through the college community and beyond. Tyler's carefully constructed image was crumbling in real time. My phone rang. It was Maddie. "Dad?" Her voice was small, uncertain. "Did you see what Jessica posted?" "I saw it." "Is it true? About Tyler and Mom?" I closed my eyes. "Yes, honey. I'm sorry, but it's true." She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was stronger. "I'm coming home. We need to talk." Lisa arrived home an hour later, her face flushed with anger. She stormed into the house, her heels clicking sharply on the hardwood floor. "Did you do this?" she demanded, waving her phone. "Did you send those photos to my boss?" "I don't know what you're talking about," I replied calmly. "Don't lie to me, Tom. Someone sent my boss documentation of every hotel room, every dinner, every—" She stopped, realizing she was confessing to things I hadn't even accused her of yet. "Every what, Lisa? Every affair? Every time you used company money to cheat on your husband?" Her face went white. "How much do you know?" "Everything. The personal trainer, the consultant, the others." I watched her face crumble as she realized the scope of what I'd discovered. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Or did you just not care?" Before she could answer, Tyler burst through the front door without knocking. His usual composure was gone, replaced by panic and rage. "What did you do?" he shouted at me. "My parents cut me off. My girlfriend dumped me. Everyone at school thinks I'm some kind of predator." "Aren't you?" I asked mildly. "This is harassment. I could sue you for defamation." "With what money? I hear your trust fund got frozen." Tyler's face went red. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Well, I've got news for you. Lisa was going to leave you anyway. She told me she couldn't stand being married to someone so boring, so ordinary." The words hit their mark, but I didn't let it show. "Is that what she told you? Right before she handed you another envelope of cash?" Lisa gasped. How do you… I know about the money, Lisa. I know Tyler's been bleeding you dry to pay his gambling debts. I know about Jessica. I know about all of it. Tyler and Lisa looked at each other, and I saw the exact moment when they realized their affair wasn't the romantic escape they'd thought it was. They were just two people who'd used each other and gotten caught. This isn't over, Tyler said, but his voice lacked conviction. Yes, it is, I replied. Your parents know what you are. Your girlfriend knows what you are. The whole school knows what you are. And now Lisa knows what you are too. Tyler looked at Lisa, maybe expecting support, but she was staring at the floor. Her perfect affair had turned into a public humiliation, and her young lover had turned out to be just another con artist. Lisa, Tyler said desperately, we can fix this. We can go away together, start over somewhere else. Lisa looked up at him with something like pity. With what money, Tyler? You've already spent mine, and I just lost my job. The reality of their situation was finally sinking in. Tyler had no money, no family support, and no future prospects. Lisa had no job, no reputation, and a husband who knew all her secrets. Tyler left without another word, and I heard his Mustang roar out of the driveway. Lisa and I stood in our living room, surrounded by the wreckage of our marriage. What happens now? She asked quietly. Before I could answer, I heard a car in the driveway. Maddie was home. Maddie walked through the front door looking older than when she'd left for school just days ago. Her face was puffy from crying, but her expression was determined. She looked at both Lisa and me with a mixture of hurt and disappointment that cut deeper than any anger could have. I read everything, she said without preamble. Jessica's post, the comments, all of it. She dropped her bag by the door and crossed her arms. I want to hear it from both of you. The truth. All of it. Lisa started to speak, but Maddie held up her hand. Not excuses, not justifications, just the truth. Lisa sank onto the couch, looking defeated. I made a mistake. Several mistakes. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. A mistake? Maddie's voice rose. You slept with my boyfriend. You gave him money. You lied to me, to Dad, to everyone. She turned to me. And you destroyed them both on social media instead of just talking to me. She was right, and I knew it. I was angry. I wanted them to hurt the way you were going to hurt when you found out. So you made it public? You made it so everyone at school knows my mother was sleeping with my boyfriend? Maddie's voice cracked. Do you have any idea how humiliating this is for me? I hadn't thought about that. In my quest for revenge, I'd made Maddie a victim all over again. Honey, I'm sorry. I was trying to protect you. By making me the girl whose mom stole her boyfriend? By making sure everyone knows my family is completely messed up? She shook her head. You weren't protecting me. You were protecting your ego. Lisa was crying again, but quietly this time. Maddie, I never meant for you to get hurt. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen. And now I have to go back to school and face everyone knowing what you did. Maddie looked between us. I can't do this anymore. I can't be in the middle of whatever war you two are fighting. She picked up her bag and headed for the stairs. Where are you going? I asked. To pack. I'm transferring schools. I already talked to my advisor. She paused on the bottom step. I'm moving in with Aunt Janice until I figure out what comes next. After Maddie disappeared upstairs, Lisa and I sat in silence. The house felt hollow, like something vital had been removed. Are you happy now? Lisa asked finally. You got your revenge, but you lost your daughter. She wasn't wrong, but I wasn't ready to admit it. I lost my daughter the minute you decided to sleep with her boyfriend. We both lost her, Lisa said quietly. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Before I could answer, my phone rang. It was Pete. Tom, you need to get down to the shop. Now. What's wrong? Just get here. And you might want to bring a lawyer. I found Pete standing in the parking lot of our auto shop, talking to Officer Barnes from the local police. Barnes was a decent guy who'd grown up in the neighborhood and knew most of the business owners personally. What's going on? I asked. Pete pointed to Tyler's Mustang, which was parked sideways across our entrance, blocking access to the shop. The car was covered in what looked like expanding foam, and someone had spray-painted "Cheater" across the windshield in bright red letters. Kid says you did this, Officer Barnes explained. Says you've been harassing him, threatening him, destroying his property. Tyler emerged from behind the car, his usual polish completely gone. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair was messy, and he had the desperate look of someone whose world had collapsed overnight. He's been stalking me, Tyler shouted, pointing at me. He sent those photos to my parents, he ruined my reputation, and now he's destroyed my car. I looked at the Mustang, genuinely puzzled. I didn't do this. Right, Tyler sneered. Just like you didn't send those photos to Jessica. Officer Barnes looked at me seriously. Tom, did you vandalize this vehicle? No, I did not. I pulled out my phone and showed him my location history. I've been at home all morning. You can check with my wife. Tyler's face went red. He's lying. He's been trying to destroy my life. Son, Officer Barnes said patiently, do you have any proof that Mr. Rourke did this? Any witnesses? Any video footage? Tyler looked around wildly, but the parking lot was empty except for us. He admitted he knew about my gambling debts. He knew about Jessica. He's been investigating me. That's not illegal, Officer Barnes pointed out. Vandalism is, but knowing things isn't. While we talked, I noticed Pete grinning and trying not to laugh. Something about his expression made me suspicious. Pete, I said quietly, do you know something about this? Me? Pete tried to look innocent. I'm just here to open the shop. But I caught him glancing toward the security camera mounted above our entrance, and I understood. Pete had access to the shop's security system. Pete knew Tyler's schedule, and Pete had a twisted sense of humor. Officer Barnes, I said, I think we should check the security footage. That should show who really did this. Tyler looked confident. Yes, let's check the footage. It'll prove Tom was here. We went inside and pulled up the security system on Pete's computer. The footage showed Tyler's car arriving at around 2 a.m., but it also showed who had vandalized it. It wasn't me. It was Jessica, Tyler's other girlfriend, along with 2 friends. They'd driven over from the college, spent 20 minutes covering Tyler's car with expanding foam and spray paint, and then left. The timestamp and license plates were clearly visible. Well, Officer Barnes said dryly, looks like you've got more than one person angry with you, son. Tyler stared at the screen in disbelief. But he must have put them up to it. Did you? Officer Barnes asked me. I've never even met Jessica, I said truthfully. This is the first time I've seen her. Tyler's case was falling apart in real time. Without proof that I'd vandalized his car, and with clear evidence that someone else had done it, there was nothing Officer Barnes could charge me with. Son, the officer said to Tyler, I'd suggest you call your insurance company and get this car towed, and maybe think about the choices that led to this situation. After Tyler left with his destroyed Mustang on the back of a tow truck, Pete and I stood in the parking lot watching the drama unfold. You knew about Jessica, I said. It wasn't a question. Ray might have mentioned her when he called to give me an update on his investigation, Pete admitted. And I might have mentioned that Tyler's car would be parked here overnight. You could have gotten us both in trouble. But I didn't. Pete grinned. And now Tyler knows what it feels like to have his property destroyed by someone he trusted. I had to admit, there was a certain poetic justice to it. Tyler had destroyed my family, and now his own actions had come back to destroy his car and his reputation. But the satisfaction was hollow. Maddie was still hurt, Lisa was still unemployed and humiliated, and I was still alone in a house that no longer felt like home. That evening, I found Lisa packing boxes in our bedroom. "Going somewhere?" I asked. "My sister's place in Ohio, at least until I figure out what comes next." She folded a sweater carefully and placed it in the box. "I submitted my resignation today. Even if they cleared me in the investigation, I couldn't face going back." I watched her pack, feeling oddly detached from the scene. This was what I'd wanted, wasn't it? Lisa gone, Tyler humiliated, justice served. So why did I feel so empty? "For what it's worth," Lisa said without looking at me, "I am sorry, not just about getting caught, about all of it, about Tyler, about the others, about throwing away 22 years for nothing." "Why?" I asked. "Why wasn't I enough?" She stopped packing and sat on the edge of the bed. "It wasn't about you not being enough. It was about me feeling invisible, feeling old, feeling like my life was over at 39. She looked at me with genuine regret. When Tyler paid attention to me, when he made me feel young and desirable, it was like a drug. I kept chasing that feeling, even when I knew it was destroying everything. "So, you destroyed our daughter's relationship to feel young." "I didn't plan it that way. It just happened. And then I couldn't stop." She resumed packing. "I know that's not an excuse. I know I've ruined everything. But I want you to know it was never about you not being a good husband." I left her to pack and went downstairs to the kitchen. The house was quiet except for the sound of boxes being moved upstairs. In a few days, Lisa would be gone, and I'd be alone with the wreckage of our family. My phone buzzed with a text from Maddie. "Dad, I'm sorry about what I said earlier. You didn't deserve what Mom did to you, but this isn't the way to fix it." She was right, of course. I'd won the war, but at what cost? Tyler was humiliated and broke, Lisa was unemployed and exiled, and Maddie was transferring schools to escape the scandal I'd created. I'd gotten my revenge, but I'd lost my family in the process. The question was, had it been worth it? 2 weeks into January, Lisa was living with her sister in Ohio. Maddie was staying with Janice while she arranged her transfer, and I was rattling around our house like a ghost haunting his own life. The silence was deafening. That's when Lisa called with a proposal that surprised me. "I want to have dinner," she said without preamble. "All of us, you, me, Maddie, somewhere public, somewhere neutral." "Why?" "Because our daughter is transferring schools to get away from us. Because she's talking about not coming home for spring break or summer vacation. Because we're her parents, and we owe her better than this." I was quiet, processing. "What makes you think she'd agree to it?" "She already did. I called her first." Lisa's voice was tired. "Tom, we can't undo what we did to each other, but maybe we can keep from losing Maddie completely." The restaurant Lisa chose was upscale but not pretentious, the kind of place where families went for special occasions. I arrived first and got a table in the back corner, somewhere we could talk without being overheard. Maddie arrived next, looking nervous but determined. She'd cut her hair shorter and was wearing clothes I didn't recognize, small changes that somehow made her look more adult, more independent. "Hi, Dad." She gave me a careful hug, like she wasn't sure how I'd react. "Hi, sweetheart. How are you doing?" "Better. Aunt Janice has been great, and the transfer paperwork is almost done." She sat across from me. "I'm going to study abroad next semester. London." "London?" The word hit me like a punch. "That's so far away." "That's kind of the point." She looked at me seriously. "I need some distance from all this. From here, from what happened, from both of you." Before I could respond, Lisa arrived. She looked thinner than when she'd left, and older somehow. The confidence that had always been her trademark was gone, replaced by something more fragile. "Thank you both for coming," she said, sitting down carefully. "I wasn't sure you would." The first few minutes were awkward, filled with small talk about the weather and the menu, but eventually we had to address the elephant in the room. "I've been thinking about what I want to say," Lisa began, "about what I owe both of you." She looked at Maddie. "Honey, I know I can't undo what I did. I can't take back the betrayal, the lies, the way I hurt you. But I want you to know that losing you, losing your respect, your trust, that's the worst consequence of my choices." Maddie's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't speak. Lisa turned to me. "And Tom, I know my apology doesn't mean much now, but I am sorry. Not just for Tyler, but for all of it. For checking out of our marriage, for making you feel invisible, for throwing away 22 years of history." "Then why did you do it?" I asked. "If you knew it would hurt us, if you knew it could destroy our family, why did you keep doing it?" Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "Because I felt like I was disappearing, like I was just mom and wife and HR manager, but never just Lisa. When Tyler looked at me, I felt like myself again, like I was worth wanting." "But you were worth wanting," Maddie said quietly. "Dad wanted you. I wanted you. We were right there, and you chose strangers instead." "I know." Lisa's voice broke slightly. "I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." The waiter brought our food, but none of us were really eating. We were too busy navigating the minefield of our destroyed family. "I have something to tell you both," I said finally. "I hired a private investigator. I had Lisa followed, photographed, investigated. I found out about the other affairs, about Tyler's gambling, about all of it." Lisa looked shocked. "Other affairs? What other affairs?" "The personal trainer, the consultant from your office. There were others, Lisa. Tyler wasn't your first." The color drained from Lisa's face. "That's not... I didn't..." She stopped, realizing that denial was pointless. "How long have you known?" "About Tyler? Since Thanksgiving. About the others? Since I hired Ray." Maddie looked between us. "There were others? Mom, how many people did you..." "It doesn't matter," Lisa said quickly. "What matters is that it's over, all of it." "It matters to me," I said. "It matters because I spent months thinking I was crazy, thinking I was imagining things. It matters because you made me feel like the problem in our marriage when you were the one living a double life." "You're right." Lisa looked at her untouched plate. "You're absolutely right. I gaslit you. I lied to you. I made you question your own sanity. There's no excuse for that." Maddie was staring at both of us, like she didn't recognize us. "This is insane. You're both insane." "Maybe we are," I agreed. "But we're still your parents." "Are you?" Maddie's voice was sharp. "Because parents are supposed to protect their children, not destroy their lives for revenge." That stung, because it was true. "You're right. I should have handled this differently." "How? How should you have handled finding out your wife was cheating with multiple men, including our daughter's boyfriend?" The question hung in the air. I didn't have a good answer because there probably wasn't one. Some situations don't have clean solutions. "I don't know," I admitted, "but not like this. Not in a way that hurt you." Lisa reached across the table toward Maddie but stopped short of touching her hand. "Honey, I know we've both failed you. I know we've given you every reason to walk away from us, but you're the best thing we ever did together, and I can't bear the thought of losing you completely." Maddie was crying now, but trying to hide it. "I don't know how to forgive either of you. I don't know how to trust you again." "You don't have to," I said. "Not right now. But maybe someday, when you're ready, we can try to rebuild something. Not what we had before, but something new." "I need time," Maddie said. "I need space. London isn't just about getting away. It's about figuring out who I am when I'm not caught between you two. We finished dinner in relative quiet, each lost in our own thoughts. As we prepared to leave, Lisa pulled out an envelope. "This is for you," she said, handing it to me. "Divorce papers. I had a lawyer draw them up. I'm not asking for alimony, and I'm signing the house over to you. It's the least I can do." I took the envelope but didn't open it. "Lisa, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do. I destroyed our marriage. I destroyed our family. I don't get to profit from that." She looked at both of us. "I'm going to stay in Ohio for a while, maybe permanently. Get a job, start over, try to become someone I can respect again." Outside the restaurant, we stood in the parking lot like strangers, unsure how to say goodbye. Maddie hugged Lisa first, a careful embrace that spoke of forgiveness offered but trust withheld. Then she hugged me, holding on a little longer. "I love you, Dad, both of you, but I need to figure out how to love you without letting you hurt me again." After Maddie left, Lisa and I stood alone under the parking lot lights. "So this is it," she said. 22 years, and this is how it ends." "It didn't have to end this way." "No," she agreed. "It didn't. But it did, and we both played a part in that." She got in her car and drove away, back to Ohio, and whatever new life she was trying to build. I sat in my truck for a long time, holding the divorce papers and thinking about choices and consequences. I'd gotten my revenge. Lisa was humiliated, unemployed, and exiled. Tyler was broke, exposed, and facing the consequences of his cons. I'd won every battle in our war. But victories can be hollow things, and revenge is a dish that leaves you hungry, no matter how much you consume. I drove home to my empty house, where the silence waited to remind me of everything I'd lost in the process of getting everything I'd wanted. 3 months later, I thought the war was over. Lisa was in Ohio, working at a small insurance company and living in a studio apartment. Maddie was in London, sending occasional postcards, but keeping her distance from both of us. Tyler had dropped out of college and moved back in with his parents, who were reportedly making his life miserable. I was alone in the house, working on accepting that this was my new reality when everything exploded again. It started with a phone call from Ray. "Tom, we've got a problem. Tyler and Lisa are back in town, and they're planning something." "What do you mean, planning something?" "I mean, they've been talking, and they think they can turn this whole situation around. Make you look like the villain, get some sympathy, maybe even get some money out of the deal." I sat up straighter. "What kind of money?" "Tyler's talking about suing you for harassment, defamation, emotional distress. Lisa's considering claiming you were abusive, that she was driven to cheat by your controlling behavior." Ray's voice was grim. "They've hired a lawyer." The audacity was breathtaking. After everything they'd done, they were trying to rewrite history and make themselves the victims. "When are they making their move?" "Tonight. They're planning to come to your house with their lawyer and some kind of process server, make a big scene, get it on video, use it as evidence that you're unstable." I thanked Ray and hung up, my mind racing. If Tyler and Lisa wanted to play games, I could play games too. But this time, I was going to end it permanently. I called Pete first. "Remember how you said you'd help me with anything I needed?" "Yeah, of course. What's going on?" I explained the situation, and Pete's response was immediate. "What do you need me to do?" "Bring your camera equipment, the good stuff, with the wireless streaming capability, and maybe call a few of our friends. Tell them there's going to be a show at my house tonight." Next, I called Janice. "Is Maddie still planning to come home for spring break?" "She's thinking about it." "Why?" "Tell her not to come home this week. Tell her to wait until next week. And Janice, you might want to come over tonight. Bring popcorn." Finally, I called Officer Barnes. "Hey, it's Tom Rourke. I think I'm going to have some visitors tonight who might cause a disturbance. Just wanted to give you a heads up." By 7 o'clock, I was ready. Pete had set up cameras in strategic locations around the house, all streaming live to his social media accounts. Janice was there with several of our neighbors, ostensibly for a casual evening gathering, but really to serve as witnesses. Ray was parked across the street, documenting everything. At 8:30, 3 cars pulled into my driveway. Tyler's replacement Mustang, apparently his parents had bought him another one, followed by Lisa's rental car and a black sedan that probably belonged to their lawyer. I opened the front door before they could knock, stepping out onto the porch where Pete's cameras could capture everything. "Lisa, Tyler." I nodded to them politely. "And you must be their lawyer." The lawyer was a thin man in an expensive suit who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Mr. Rourke, I'm David Porter. I represent Ms. Rourke and Mr. Groves in their claims against you." "Claims?" I raised my eyebrows. "What claims would those be?" Tyler stepped forward, his usual arrogance back in full force. "Harassment, stalking, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress. You've destroyed my reputation, cost me my education, ruined my relationship with my family. Your relationship with your family was ruined when they found out you were a gambling addict who was conning older women for money," I replied calmly. "I just made sure they had accurate information." Lisa moved to stand beside Tyler, and I noticed they were holding hands. Apparently, their shared victimhood had brought them back together. "Tom," Lisa said, "we're prepared to settle this quietly. Drop the harassment, issue a public apology, and pay for Tyler's therapy and educational costs." "Or what?" "Or we file suit tomorrow morning," the lawyer said. "We have documentation of your stalking behavior, evidence of your harassment campaign, testimony about your controlling and abusive behavior during the marriage." I almost laughed. "Abusive behavior? Lisa, you cheated on me with multiple men over several years, including our daughter's boyfriend. That's not abuse. That's called consequences. You hired a private investigator to follow me." Lisa's voice rose. "You publicly humiliated me, cost me my job, destroyed my reputation." "I documented your adultery," I corrected. "Everything I revealed was true." Tyler stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Well, we've got witnesses who'll testify about your threats, your stalking, your obsessive behavior." "What witnesses would those be?" "Heather, for one. She'll testify that you made threatening comments about me at family gatherings." I smiled. "Heather? The same Heather who's been sleeping with your father for the past 6 months." The silence that followed was deafening. Tyler's face went white, and Lisa actually took a step backward. "That's right," I continued conversationally. "Ray's been busy. Turns out Heather met your dad at one of Lisa's work functions last year. They've been having quite the affair. Your mother knows, by the way. She hired her own private investigator." Tyler's lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear. "Mr. Rourke, these personal attacks aren't attacks if they're true," I interrupted. "Which brings me to something else Ray discovered. Tyler, did you tell Lisa about the other women you've been borrowing money from? Or about the fake charity you set up to collect donations for your gambling debts?" Tyler's composure cracked completely. "You're lying." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone and showed them photos Ray had taken. "Here you are last week, meeting with Mrs. Henderson from the country club. Sweet old lady, probably reminds you of your grandmother. How much did you borrow from her? 5,000? 10? Lisa stared at Tyler in horror. "You said you were done with all that. You said you changed." "I have changed," Tyler protested. "This is all lies, all manipulation." "The bank records aren't lies," I said. "Neither are the photos, or the witness statements, or the police report Mrs. Henderson filed when she realized you'd conned her." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Mr. Rourke, perhaps we should discuss—" "There's nothing to discuss," I said firmly. "You want to sue me? Go ahead. But everything I did was legal, everything I revealed was true, and everything that happened to both of you was a direct result of your own choices." Tyler finally snapped. "You smug piece of—" He lunged toward me, but I was ready for it. I stepped aside, letting his momentum carry him past me, and he stumbled into Pete, who was conveniently positioned with a camera. Pete steadied Tyler with one hand while keeping the camera rolling with the other. "Whoa there, champ," Pete said cheerfully. "Careful, or you'll hurt yourself." Tyler spun around, his face red with rage and embarrassment. "This is all being recorded, isn't it? You set this up." "Of course I did," I replied. "You announced you were coming here to threaten me. I wanted witnesses." Lisa was looking around at the cameras, at the neighbors watching from the porch, at the car across the street where Ray was documenting everything. "Tom, this is cruel." "Cruel?" I stared at her. "You destroyed our daughter's faith in love. You humiliated me for months. You threw away 22 years of marriage for a series of affairs with men young enough to be your son. And I'm cruel for making sure people know the truth?" "The truth?" Tyler laughed bitterly. "The truth is, you're a pathetic middle-aged man who couldn't keep his wife happy." That was the wrong thing to say. "You're right," I said calmly. "I couldn't keep my wife happy. But you know what? You couldn't either. None of the men she cheated with could, because Lisa isn't looking for happiness. She's looking for validation that no one person can give her." I turned to Lisa. "And you, Tyler, you're not looking for love. You're looking for marks. Women who will give you money, status, whatever you need. The fact that one of them happened to be married to your girlfriend's father was just a bonus." Both of them looked stricken, probably because I'd hit closer to the truth than they wanted to admit. The lawyer stepped forward. "Mr. Rourke, my clients are prepared to drop their claims if you'll agree to—" "No," I cut him off. "No deals, no settlements, no agreements. If they want to sue me, they can sue me. But they should know that I'll countersue for adultery, fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress on my daughter, and anything else Ray can dig up." I looked directly at Tyler. "And Tyler, you should know that Mrs. Henderson isn't the only elderly woman who's filed a police report about you. There are 3 others, and they're all talking to prosecutors about fraud charges." Tyler went pale. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" I smiled. "Ray, would you like to tell them about your conversation with Detective Morrison?" Ray stepped out of his car and walked over, holding a folder full of documents. "Tyler Groves, you're going to want to call a criminal defense attorney. The district attorney's office is very interested in your charity scam." Tyler looked at his lawyer desperately, but the man was already backing toward his car. "I'm sorry, but I only handle civil matters. You'll need to find other representation." As the lawyer drove away, Tyler and Lisa stood in my driveway, looking lost and defeated. Their grand plan to intimidate me had backfired spectacularly, and now they were facing consequences they hadn't anticipated. "This isn't over," Tyler said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Yes, it is," I replied. "It's been over since the moment you decided to betray my daughter. Everything since then has just been cleanup." Lisa looked at me with something that might have been respect. "You really did think of everything, didn't you?" "I had good teachers," I said. "You taught me that people will lie, cheat, and steal if they think they can get away with it. Tyler taught me that some people are just predators looking for their next victim. And both of you taught me that sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to make sure everyone knows exactly who they're dealing with." Tyler and Lisa got in their cars and drove away, leaving me standing on my porch surrounded by friends and neighbors who'd witnessed the entire confrontation. "Well," Pete said, reviewing the footage on his camera, "that was better than cable TV." Janice hugged me. "I'm proud of you, little brother. You didn't let them turn you into the villain." As everyone dispersed and I went back into my house, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Not happiness exactly, but a sense that justice had been served and the war was finally, truly over. Tyler would face fraud charges. Lisa would have to live with the consequences of her choices. and I would have to figure out how to rebuild my relationship with Maddie. But for the first time since that Thanksgiving dinner when everything fell apart, I felt like I could breathe again. The turkey takedown was complete.